Welcome to Arizona Roundup with Stuart Rosebrook at Sharlot Hall Museum. And my special guest today is Bud Heitman. He is the board chairperson of the Prescott Community Covered Food Bank. And Bud, welcome to the show.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for having me here.
Well, it's great. And, Bud, we met earlier this summer at a Prescott Chamber of Commerce mixer here at Sharlot Hall Museum. And I was really impressed to learn about your dedication to our community here and at the food bank and helping our community. Now, Bud, did you grow up in Prescott or are you a new, tell me a little bit about what brought you to Prescott, Arizona?
Okay, I actually grew up in Minnesota.
All right.
And I've lived in several different states, about 6 or 7 states I've lived in. I went from Minnesota to Wisconsin, lived there about 3 years, then I moved to southern Louisiana. I went to college there. And then after Louisiana, I spent 7 years. From there, I moved back to Minnesota. And then from Minnesota, I got a different job and was transferred to Las Vegas, Nevada. From Las Vegas, I was promoted and transferred to Southern California.
Well, how about that? So first up and down the Mississippi River and up, from the coldest climate along the Mississippi to the warmest, and then out to the desert west. And so when did your family move to here to Prescott?
We moved here during the height of COVID, actually, and it was 2020, August of 2020. So it's been almost exactly 5 years.
It's interesting. That's when my wife and I moved back to Arizona. We moved here in August 2020 as well. And, it's actually, I know a lot of people who moved that year. It was an opportunity sometimes if the opportunity was right, to make the move. And, so growing up in Minnesota, what part of the state were you from? The Minneapolis, St. Paul, the Twin Cities, or were you out in a more rural part of the state?
I grew up south of St. Paul. In South St. Paul, it was called a suburb. And then when I moved back after I retired, because I thought family's back in Minnesota, we're going to move back. But we've been gone 20 years, my wife and I, and forgot how cold it is there.
Right.
So when I moved there back, I lived in Forest Lake, Minnesota, which is north of the Twin Cities.
Sure.
Moved onto a lake. And forgot how cold it is.
Right.
And the brutal winters.
Oh, yeah. We lived in Iowa for 9 years, and my wife's from the Phoenix area, and I grew up in Southern California and in Arizona. And the there is a shock on those Midwestern winters will wake you up. And when you get below minus 20, it's real.
Yeah, that's true.
And so how did you find yourself growing up in Minnesota and then going to school in Louisiana?
It was a culture shock, actually, but I loved Louisiana. I loved the people there. From Minnesota, we eat, plain, basic meat and potatoes.
Right.
When I moved down in Cajun country, I learned how to eat spice.
Yeah.
And Cajun food, which I just love.
Right. Not a lot of spice on that meatloaf and mashed potatoes up in Minnesota. Is there maybe a little salt and pepper?
Yeah, maybe that at the most.
And so tell me a little bit about your career that took you around the country. I grew up in Southern California, and it sounds like you were in the desert Southwest in Las Vegas. Have you been involved in working or volunteering for food banks for a long time, or is this something new that you've taken on?
Oh, sure. In Minnesota, I actually worked for a food bank, Family Pathways it was called. I headed up the grocery rescue for them. They had 8 different food banks that we would go to grocery stores, pick up whatever produce that's not retail saleable anymore. Mm-hmm. They would put it in boxes. I'd pick it up and bring it to the different food banks. Same thing we do in Prescott here. We do the same thing through Fry's and Safeway.
People don't realize how much is going on behind the scenes and for how long, people like yourself and people who are dedicated as volunteers or philanthropically have said, you know what, I want to make a difference in my community. And so was this something that you'd grown up seeing, or even I know a lot of us as teenagers, maybe it was the first time we got involved in doing something charitable in our community. Was it something that you grew up with that you said, this is important, I want to make it part of my life?
Yeah, I think I was always heavily involved in churches in Minnesota, mm-hmm. and always giving back. I was part of the board of education through our church. So I think it's just important. And once I retired, actually I needed to do something because my wife was going to say, get out
right.
quickly. So I needed to do something, and it just filled the gap and the niche that was needed.
Right. And so you've obviously seen a lot of different communities at different levels, from small towns in the Midwest to the deep South, and then, fast growing cities like Las Vegas and in Los Angeles. But you probably have a few stories that are similar across the country. It doesn't really matter what part of the country you're in. There are people in need where, and I know there's some new terms where about people that are in need of a hand up that on a regular basis, or maybe they've just hit a low point and a food bank is the only gap between them and having a meal.
Yeah, that's true. Especially in Prescott, you wouldn't think that there'd be a lot of food insecure people here, but we serve around 600 people a week, and that includes families and children. About in last month, I think we served about 2,900 children.
Is that right?
So yeah, so there is a big need here. And I think there's a need across the country.
Right. And we're talking about the Prescott Community Cupboard Food Bank. Now, is the Community Cupboard Food Bank, is that a national organization or just local here in Prescott?
It's local. It started in 1973, just kind of out of a garage. It was supported by 7 churches here.
All right.
6 of those churches are still very involved in terms of providing volunteers to us. And then in 2024, we had a big year. We actually merged with the Prescott Valley Food Bank. Actually, they merged into us. And then we also started a mobile food bank in 2024, which is doing phenomenal. I shouldn't say it's either good or bad.
Sure.
It's good that we're serving people, bad that many people need it.
Right.
But we go to 5 different locations in Yavapai County here. Mostly food deserts, meaning they don't have access to fresh, nutritious food.
Right.
And the food bank then brings food out to them. Then the Prescott Valley, through a nice loan or a nice contribution from a volunteer, we were able to buy that building they were currently in, remodel it, and we're in the process now of changing the model that we use down there.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, Bud, let's take a first break here and thank our sponsors. We're going to come back and talk a little bit about food insecurity, about the food needs as we're coming into the holiday season, and learn more about the role of Prescott Community Cupboard Food Bank here in the greater Prescott area.
Since 1995, Helkin & Horn Ad Agency has helped local businesses stand out and succeed from print and radio to websites and social media. You see, their talented team crafts your brand's message and offers a plan to get it out into the community. Do you want results backed by 30 years of experience? Visit AZAD, that's azadagency.com, and do it today. Helkin and Horn, where their slogan is "Be Known."
Welcome back to Arizona Roundup with Stuart Rosebrook at Sharlot Hall Museum in Prescott, Arizona. And my special guest today is Bud Heitman. He's the board chairperson of the Prescott Community Cupboard Food Bank. And in our before our break, we're talking a little bit about the role of their food bank here in Prescott and across Yavapai County. And we're also talking a little bit about how we all can be inspired to give back to our community, become active, and how easy it is to support our neighbors. And I think all of us probably, I know growing up in North Hollywood, California, that early on there were food drives in the neighborhood, food drives at our churches, friends of mine at their temples, and at our local schools. And so this isn't something that is new, but it's something that's ongoing. But I think this time of year, it's always a good reminder to remember that your neighbors, as you drive by through our towns and through our communities, that there's people in need and that there's easy ways to help just on a regular basis. And so, Bud, when you moved to Prescott, you and your wife, and you decided to find something to get involved, how did you find the Community Cupboard Food Bank here in Prescott? Did you seek it out, or was it a way that you got inspired to become involved?
Okay, actually, when I first got here, I volunteered for SCORE, which is helping small businesses get and mentor them, get going and stuff. So one of the treasurers from SCORE, him and I became good friends. He was also the treasurer for Prescott Community Cupboard. And then he asked me to join the board, which I did. A year later, after I joined the board, I was elected and chair for the board.
Well, and Bud, one of the things you touched on prior to this was the kind of the those without voice, we know that across here in Prescott versus, let's say, down in Phoenix, a very large urban area where there's lots of people in need. But sometimes in rural America, and you yourself have lived in a variety of communities and are very aware of the different rural natures of the different seasons, from Minnesota to Louisiana to the heat of Las Vegas and the large city of Los Angeles. Let's talk a little bit about rural Arizona and rural Yavapai County. There's a lot these food deserts. That's a big problem, isn't it?
Yes, it is. That's why we created the mobile food bank.
Mm-hmm.
We currently go to Cordes Lakes, we go to Mayer, we go to Dewey Humboldt, and Alta Wilhoit.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking for more areas. I'm working with Yarnell right now to maybe add to them. The other problem is transportation. People don't always have the proper transportation. You're in Mayer, and it might be 20 miles to the local grocery store.
Right.
So,
and do you experience, is it a mix from seniors to families to single people who may not have the means to actually get to town very easily, or to fill up the tank of gas, or to get to the grocery store?
Yeah, that's correct. We're also seeing a big increase in what the government calls the working poor. They have a job. It might not be a very high-paying job, or they might have larger families, and they just can't make ends meet. So they come see us to help fulfill that food need.
Mm-hmm. Now, when people think of a traditional food bank, and I was a scout leader and have been involved in many, canned food drives or food drives of, but what about fresh produce? Is fresh produce something that people can donate to your community food bank?
Yeah, they can bring it in as long as it's good produce that we can put on the shelf. We do the food, grocery rescue through the stores.
So they have a lot that comes through the grocery stores?
Yeah, we do have a lot. And we also get donation program through St. Mary's, where we get pallets of food.
Mm-hmm.
The farmers bring it to them. It could be, this time of year, is root vegetables.
Right.
So we're getting a lot of potatoes, onions, squash, that kind of stuff. But people can also donate it. And once it's on the shelf, the produce is pretty much gone that day.
Mm-hmm. Is this St. Mary's Food Bank that you're talking about, the national organization?
Yes, that's correct.
And so I think that's very interesting, because I know that with the food deserts, a lot of people say, well, there's a convenience store or a mini market, but all of us who have stopped in those towns, we're stopped to get a little groceries, and you go into those mini markets in small towns in Arizona and Iowa and across this country, you walk in and you go, well, there's 30 bananas and 12 apples and 5 loaves of bread left, and a lot of processed food. And so I think that's the other part of this food bank program, is trying to bring fresher food, and why your local grocery stores are so supportive.
Yeah, that's correct. Like our mobile, we load fresh produce on that every day. Plus we pre-pack bags of non-perishable canned goods and that kind of stuff. And when we first started, we had like 5 clients. Now we're up to 45 a day per location.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So if I'm living here in rural Arizona and listening to the show today, I know that you're located at 777 West Hillside Avenue. The phone number is 928-277-0092. Is that the number, Bud?
Yes, that's correct.
Right. 928-277-0092. But if I go to your website, what's your website here?
It's PrescottCommunityCupboard.com.
PrescottCommunityCupboard.com. And is there any form on your website where, if I feel like, or an email, way to email and contact you, let's say, I live somewhere here in the county and I'd like to develop, a mobile food bank to come out to my part of the county. Can I contact you through the website?
Sure. You can contact the food bank manager at the numbers you just gave out, or you can email me personally. It's chairperson.pccfb.org, and you can contact me. We also have our site in Prescott Valley at 8671 Spouse Drive. You can stop in there and donate there at any time too.
That's 8671 Spouse Drive in Prescott Valley.
Correct.
And Prescott Valley is one of the fastest growing communities here in the state. And so it's really good that you have a location there for that side of the county. Well, Bud, we're going to take a break here real quickly, and we're going to come back and talk a little bit about how Sharlot Hall Museum can partner with the Prescott Community Covered Food Bank, and also how people can get involved if they'd like to volunteer.
For over 45 years, Blind Brothers Arizona has been the heart of window style in Prescott. From blinds, shutters, drapes, they will custom design and install with expert precision, tailored just to you, whether it's for your home or your office. You can trust the name that locals rely on. Visit blindbrothersarizona.com today, or call them at 928-776-1845. Once again, that's 928-776-1845 for a free consultation. Blind Brothers Arizona, the original since 1979.
At Foothills Bank, they're not just about banking. They're about people, community, and building futures. Whether you're managing personal finances, growing your business, planning for retirement, or buying your dream home, their friendly team is there to guide you every step of the way. Stop by your local Foothills Bank today. It's more than just banking. It's a partnership for success. Foothills Bank is a division of Glacier Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Welcome back to Arizona Roundup with Stuart Rosebrook, and my special guest today here at Sharlot Hall Museum is Bud Heitman. He's the board chairperson of the Prescott Community Covered Food Bank. We've been having a great conversation today about food insecurity, about food deserts, about how people in the Prescott area can help, and the role of a food bank in our community. Now, are you the only food bank here, or do you have partners in the food banks here in the greater Phoenix Prescott area?
Yeah, I believe in collaboration. So we also work with the Salvation Army, and we work with the Seventh-day Adventists and other Agape House. We'll work with them. Farmers Market, we're actually now purchasing fresh produce from the farmers market, so we work closely with them. We work closely with everybody in Prescott.
That's fantastic. And, one of the things that I think about when about our founder, Sharlot Hall, here at Sharlot Hall Museum, is that she really was a leader in her community. She traveled the state as a leader, as a territorial historian, but also as a community leader, trying to learn about our rural areas, our smaller towns, our big cities, and really promoting the community of our state. And what's interesting is I've read there were practices here very early on in Prescott where they've written about during the Christmas tidings, where Boy Scouts went door to door, and after food was donated on the plaza, the food was then distributed to families that were in need. So this type of charity, kind of giving back to our community, goes back a long ways, and that ideal of a service above self. And so if I wanted to get involved with as a volunteer at the Prescott Community Covered Food Bank, how would I go about that?
Well, there's a couple different ways. You can either go to our website and hit the volunteer button and do the application there, or just stop in and take a tour and see if there's something you'd like there. Right.
And do you have walk-ins on a regular basis? People just drive up and say, hey, here's a box of food? Or do you encourage people just to say, hey, you can become a regular donor of food or donations to the food bank?
Yeah, people can come in anytime between 8 and preferably before 2:30 and bring in food. It happens all the time. We even have people, I was there the other day, and a lady came in, her son, unfortunately, had just passed away, and he wanted some of his money to go to us, and she gave me a $10,000 check.
How about that?
Yeah, that is fantastic.
That is remarkable. It's a very moving experience to be able to receive that kind of gift.
It sure is.
And support from the community. Well, following in the footsteps of Sharlot Hall and giving back to our community, this fall, we are going to have a food drive that's going to start here in mid-October. And, we're timing it, obviously, as a lot of times food banks, everyone becomes aware of food needs during the holiday season. And we're going to kind of get started a little early, but let's talk a little bit about the importance of, food donations throughout the year and why it's a good reason for us here at Sharlot Hall to start in mid-October.
Yeah, that's a good point. The fourth quarter is always a good, generous time. People feel like they want to donate during that time period, during the holiday time period. But we actually need food all year round. Our client base is growing month over month, and to be able to partner with somebody like Sharlot Hall would be fantastic. Any food collection you get, it helps offset our costs. We're about buying food.
Well, that's great. I think by mid-October, we're going to have some food barrels at the front, at the depot, we call it, because there's a little locomotive at the front of our front entrance to the museum. And we will have a food barrel there every day through the beginning of January to help support the Prescott Community Cupboard Food Bank. And we'll be posting on our website and through our newsletters, kind of giving people suggestions on the food they can bring over. We're also offering incentive. Anyone who brings a bag of food or even just a can, we'll give them 10% off at the gift shop here at the museum. So, Bud, in October, as we start this food drive, let's talk a little bit about the type of food that you would like to see help. We know we have the perishables. You're great to get the bread out and get the fresh fruit and vegetables out to people. But what are some of the standards that you see day in and day out that you can use at the food bank?
Okay. When our clients come into the food bank, we give out a pre-packed bag. In that bag is canned fruit, canned vegetables, soup. We also give out a cereal, like a cold cereal, and also it's any kind of like mac and cheese or anything like that can be prepared. So those are the items that we really be looking for, something we can put in our bags and pre-pack it.
What if someone comes to you with some perishables, butter or milk or yogurt or, the eggs? Do you handle those kinds of perishables on a regular basis or just certain times of the year?
No, we handle it all year. We have a cooler that is full of eggs all the time. Unfortunately, we can buy it from St. Mary's at $1 a dozen. And, today's prices are,
that's fantastic.
Are much more than that. So we always have eggs. We always have milk because we got a grant to purchase milk. And butter we have always in our freezer. So if they bring that in, that will help offset some of those costs also.
Now, here in Prescott, is there any kind of federal food bank? We've read the stories over the last couple of decades that the federal food banks will have huge blocks of cheese and bags of beans and bags of flour. Do you work with the federal food banks, or is everything that comes to you is donated by your local partners?
Yeah, we currently don't work with any federal government subsidies or anything. Everything is done locally.
And so as we get into the holiday season and some of the things you're going to encourage our listeners to bring to Sharlot Hall Museum to donate the canned fruits, the canned vegetables, even the canned favorites for the holidays, like canned sweet potatoes and cranberries and green beans and, I'm sure peaches and what about things like applesauce and all those are all standards and soups. All those are, what about pastas? Do you take dried pasta?
Yeah, part of our bag, I didn't mention it, but we do give out spaghetti sauce, pastas, and also pasta in the bag.
Okay.
So, yeah, we would need all of those kind of items, too.
All right. So those are some of the standards that you're looking for. So, all right, we're going to take another break and thank our sponsors and come back and talk a little bit more about the holidays here in Prescott, Arizona, and how you can be part of the solution and support the Prescott Community Cupboard Food Bank here in the Quad Cities and Yavapai County and Prescott.
Well, the stories continue from Prescott, Arizona, the mile-high cowboy city, everybody's favorite hometown. And as a wonderful hometown, it wants to take care of those people who need a little cowboy help from time to time. And so Stuart and Bud, they are telling you the story about how they do that. And now you get to participate in the program. As Stuart said, Stan, tell them that we will be taking non-perishable food at Sharlot Hall Museum beginning right after Columbus Day. for the food bank in the show. That's right. That's about October 14th. That's close to the Canadian Thanksgiving Day. And, of course, the American Thanksgiving Day is coming up, and you have much to be thankful for. And at the holiday coming time, you want to make sure that there's plenty of food, at least, in the pantry, so people can have the basics they have and need to make it a better holiday for them. So remember, the Sharlot Hall Museum, the day after Columbus Day, they will be receiving perishable food to put in the pantry. And when you do that, you'll receive a 10% off at the gift shop. And there are some wonderful holiday gifts that you can buy right there. And say hi to all the good people at the Sharlot Hall Museum and tell them you appreciate Arizona Roundup.
Welcome back to Sharlot Hall Museum. Today's episode of Arizona Roundup with Stuart Rosebrook. I have been talking with Bud Heitman, who's the board chairperson of the Prescott Community Cupboard Food Bank. And we've been having a very poignant talk this afternoon about the importance, the role of food banks in our communities across the country. You obviously have experienced that through your life, inspired as a young man to get involved in supporting food banks as a professional and as a volunteer. And as we move into the holiday season, we're just talking about some of the basics people can donate. When we get towards Thanksgiving and the December holidays of Christmas and Hanukkah, do you take turkeys? Can people support you by donating turkeys and ham and chicken and those staples of the holiday table?
Right. Turkeys would be fantastic if we got donations through them. We're also working with the Prescott area young professionals. They do their turkey drive every year.
Okay.
And they're going to donate some of their turkeys to us. Otherwise, we do purchase like turkey breasts to hand out to our clients. Mm-hmm. But if we could just get more donations, we could supply to more people then.
Right. And that's another way that people can give back in addition to finding one of your barrels. We'll talk a little bit about where there's going to be placed around the holidays. We know we're going to do it here at Sharlot Hall Museum, but also people can be donors. There is obviously a need to support your the food bank on a regular basis. If I went to your website, could I sign up and be a donor, be a monthly donor or a one-time donor, or even are there tax credit programs and ways that I can support the food bank?
Sure. If you were to ask me what keeps me up at night, it's funding. So going to our website, there's a donate button on there. You can hit that donate button and be a donor for monthly donations if you prefer, or just a one-time donation. And we are part of the Arizona qualifying organizations. So every dollar for dollar up to their maximum amount is also approved for the Arizona tax credit. And then if you file long form on federal, of course, you can take some of that. And there's some changes this year.
Right.
That, so.
Well, that's a big deal, the tax credit program here in Arizona that allows you to, through your Arizona taxes, take a tax credit break, and as well as on your federal taxes. And so is that information, if I went to PrescottCommunityCupboard.com, I can learn about how I can, direct some of my tax burden through the tax credit program?
Yeah, we actually have a new website coming out. It's going to come out next week, and that has all that information in there about RMDs, required minimum distributions that some people might have to have that you can donate to for that.
Right.
And that's completely tax-free then.
And you also were talking before the break a little bit about the fact that you are working to create an endowment, like many of us here in the nonprofit business, and that you recently had a donation towards the organization. Is Legacy Giving a program that you're developing to help support long-term the goals of the food bank?
Yeah, we're just in the infancy program of doing legacy program or legacy giving, and we'd really like to increase that. Put in your state or in your will, you'd like some of your money to come to us, and that goes long ways towards legacy, and we will recognize that at the cupboard if you would prefer. If not, some people don't like to be recognized.
Sure, of course. And as we work our way towards the holiday season and people can get involved, how about local organizations? Do you, if I was a a scout leader or a youth leader or I was part of a local charitable group here in town, how would I get involved if my charity wanted to step forward and have a food drive? Who would I contact over at the food bank if we wanted, like when I was a scout leader, we would organize our Boy Scouts in Iowa City, and we would bring truckloads of food to the food bank. Do you have some local organizations that you depend on every year that do their food drives to support you?
Yeah, the Lions Club does a lot. The Rotary Club does quite a bit of giving towards us. But if you are interested in starting something and want to give, just contact either the food bank manager at the cupboard at 777 West Hillside, or email me, and I'll be happy to sit down and talk with you at chairperson at pccfb.org.
That's fantastic. Well, here at Sharlot Hall Museum, we're looking forward to helping support the food bank this fall season and inspire our visitors and our local residents who are driving by here at Sharlot Hall Museum to stop by and bring their food, to 415 West Gurley Street and drop off the food. If we're closed, you can just leave maybe a bag of food by the front door of the Bashford House or the front door of our, and we'll definitely appreciate your donation, and because we're going to be collecting that food to help support the Prescott Community Covered Food Bank this fall season here in Prescott. And if you have communities who want a barrel or, want to join in with Sharlot Hall Museum in collecting food this fall season, how easy it is. Can you just make a call out to the food bank at 928-277-0092 and say that, hey, we'd like to, we're a local business or we're a local charity, and we'd like to support you and have a food drive. Is that pretty easy to do?
Yeah, just contact us, and we'll supply the bins and all the information for it and signs. And we'll also advertise on our social media and our website that you're doing collections. If you're a country club, we have a couple country clubs that we do, or a clubhouse like we have Granville and Prescott Lakes Country Club and stuff.
That's wonderful. Well, it sounds like you've got the community support, and we can grow more community support here in Prescott and the Quad Cities in Yavapai County to help those who are food insecure, to help those who just need a hand up. Maybe they're it's a tough week or tough time for their family. Something has happened, and the Prescott Community Covered Food Bank is there for them. And it's really glad to hear how many different ways people can get involved and be supportive of the organization and lend a helping hand here in our community this fall season going into the holidays here in Prescott. But I really appreciate the hard work you and your team are doing for our community, and look forward to having you back on the show here soon.
Thank you, Stuart, and I'm looking forward to a successful partnership.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. It's been great having Bud Heitman, the board chairperson of the Prescott Community Covered Food Bank, on Arizona Roundup this week. And we'll see you back here at Sharlot Hall Museum next week.
Well, that great Western theme song takes us out, and we've had a wonderful Western experience from Prescott, Arizona, and that's a wrap for this program. But we hope that you'll come back. This is where we try and keep the Western tradition alive, maybe help Western civilization survive. So thank you for your participation. Remember, we come your way from Prescott, Arizona, and the Sharlot Hall Museum. That's charlottehallmuseum.org. Come back next week for another rousing edition of Arizona Roundup. Till then, be safe, be a blessing, take care of yourself, stand tall, take care of one another, because that's the cowboy way. And till then, bye for now.